Hey, how we doing, Angelina County and state of Texas? Um, hey, it's Steve coming to you. Making another video. Happy Sunday to everybody. I hope you had a really nice, relaxing Sunday. And the week is December the 3rd. It's 6:21, sorry, p.m. for those of you who are time stepping. Those of you who have actually followed my page, you actually see I got lights now. Um, yeah, I got my generator started up in my man cave, and it was a valve, and I had overlooked. Anyway, news for today is that earlier this week, the Texas judge ruled that the um, video cams uh, on the Uvalde shooting um, has to be released. Um, these are personal body cams on all the officers that were involved um, to make a determination of the situation, what actually transpired, what happened, and how we need to progress to move forward. This information is vital because the fact is that it not only puts blame on individuals, but it also shows the total um, disaster we had of a form of a chain of command there, and we didn't even have a command post. These guys were just winging it. So it would actually these videos would actually explain what these individuals did for 77 minutes or 90 minutes. The time frame goes by wherever. Anyway, they didn't jump in to um, help these students until later on, since all the damage was done. So, how does that apply to Angelina County? Okay, well, what we're dealing with is what they call the dead man loophole. District attorneys, government officials use this loophole um, because the fact is that they determine what information they can release. They can quote that, for example, in Angelina County, they quote uh, that it's against the inmates' rights to show that number two, it would actually design or people could actually see the plans of the jail, locate the cameras, all these kind of things for people who wanted to break into the jail. Or I know it sounds stupid, but who wants to break into jail? Everybody I know wants to get out. Anyway, so they have come up with multiple reasons to support the dead man's loophole. Now, HR 31 passed, became effective at September the 1st. This uh, this law that was passed by the Texas Congress actually states that it takes out the dead man's loophole. Whenever whenever there is a critical incident or a death while a person is in custody of law enforcement or county jail officials, or there is a death that occurs, or bodily use of force was necessary, then you have to release the videos. Now, many people say, well, I'm just actually picking on the sheriff's department or whatever. No, that's not the case. What I have found out in my training is that we used to use these videos to train for life combat exercises, and also see what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, if we're doing everything's right by the book, or if we're breaking some kind of part of the Geneva Convention or whatever. Anyway, with that being said, it doesn't matter because the fact is that a whole county should be concerned about a death in their county jail. Um, I'm surprised that more people aren't asking what happened to this individual. And here are some of the things that I've come up with. One is that this individual, um, this individual wasn't a model citizen. He was uh, apparently he was addicted to drugs. He was receiving treatment. He was going to. He was actually in a program. Um, he left that program, uh, got high, got whatever, and then he went to the hospital. They were detoxing him. People don't know the whole story, but anyway, it's all backed up by the documentation provided by the Lufkin Police Department and also by Angelina County and the county attorney. So basically what we have is we have a group, we have a county who deemed this individual was his life was not to be questioned. That we don't need to know the details of the situation. Um, he was a bad seed, whatever, so he deserved to die in prison, even though he wasn't even convicted of a crime. He was just there to be booked. Now, the caveat on this is that if you look at the autopsy report, you look at the reports from the county jail. This individual was passed away. His time of death was 11:36. He was not booked into jail to 12:28. The reason for that, people come up and say, "Oh, it's just a typo." The report was handwritten. So, in other words, what appears to have happened is that these individuals had to backtrack and cover their asses because proper procedure wasn't being followed. Now, for those of you that don't know the story, go back to my previous videos and you can see what happened. So we have a county who's failing to question a death inside a county jail, which is paid for by taxpayers. So we have no one to address this. No one will actually provide documentation showing what actually happened. The only way we will actually know if this time frame does set is if we see the video. Then we can compare the video time frame to the actual report, the logs that they actually put in all this information from. So in other words, you can compare the two and see which one makes sense. And plus, they can redact the part where he's actually passed away or whatever, but there's too many inconsistencies in this report. Number one is that they said they found him slumped over in a chair. There are no chairs in detox. He slumped over a chair. It was a restraint chair. There's no record of him being restrained. The coroner went over and said that there was visible evidence that he had been restrained, and that also there was on his chest there was where they tried to provide CPR where it was bruised. So it was a pretty detailed report. However, the fact is you can't avoid appearing to go. The bottom line was that the fact is that it was all called an accident. So in other words, the coroner actually he didn't say it was because of drug abuse, didn't say the OD'd, didn't say any of that. It was an accident. If it would have been an accidental overdose, they would have put accidental overdose. Anyway, he died. Anyway, it's an accident. So that right there piques the question, what happened? Now, personally, I believe that these kind of instances should be reported on. I think that people's right to request information and further investigate is necessary. We have a county attorney who deems what we can see, what we can't see. And if you have ever put in a freedom of information request, you'll find out in Angelina County, you'll find out everything goes through him. Now, where we sit on this case is whatever is that he has referred it to the district attorney over 45 days ago. There has been no answers from the attorney general, or has there been any answers from the county attorney? So we're still. So what's the status? What can we get status of where the ruling or the opinion comes from the attorney general? What was actually being said, or what actually was a determination of this, so to speak? We may never know. The key part of realizing is what's going on in Angelina County. If you've been watching videos, you see it's not just Angelina County. It is East Texas wise. we actually have a system in place to where it promotes corruption. It promotes not sharing of information and not being totally transparent. Every county official that you'll actually run against, or anybody, or come up, even I'm speaking of Angelina County. Well, in the issue of transparency for releasing this, well, okay, you're supposed to release all the documentation. Matter of fact, I've reviewed a bunch of freedom information requests in Angelina County, and where people say, I want all documentation on this. Whenever you put all documentation regarding an incident, or they will come back and say, well, it's too broad. Specifically what you want. Now, this is attempt to actually get you to narrow down what you actually want, put down in writing what you want, and then the public and believe that this is all that you're entitled to. This is all information. So basically, it's basically censorship. Now, a public information request can go to a certain individual in Angelina County. So if you send it to a department head, or you send it to an individual, that individual will not respond back to you. That individual will go to the county attorney, and the county attorney will respond back to you. I didn't put my freedom of information request into the county attorney. Every person who holds office in Angelina County is guided by a training session to where they have the opportunity excuse me, to actually review the process of FOI, Freedom of Information Act, actually apply it, and actually understand what this actual act is. Now, in the past, we've had a lot of people who have actually, I would think, not abused the system, but used it as a way of as a political attack, just putting in multiple freedom of information requests. And when you do that, you put a freedom of information request in. Then, once you get the information, if it doesn't apply, you let it fly. So, in other words, you're seeking out the information, and if you find information that can benefit the county, then you should share it. You should share it to other people, or you should actually share it with the individuals who's actually involved. That doesn't really happen in Angelina County, and I'll tell you why. Because the fact is that we have an organization which is called our county government and county government officials who believe that they are entitled to let you know what you should know and what you shouldn't know. This is evident across every decision when a person asks a question. Even if you go to a city council meeting, even if you go to a commissioner's meeting, whatever meeting you attend, you will not be allowed to ask questions. If you ask a question, this is an example. An individual got up one time and asked for all the recorded lawsuits that were against Angelina County. So this individual said, I don't know how to do that. I mean, so they left it at that. Well, they didn't disclose any of that information. What Keith Wright personally said was, well, that's something you would obtain during a freedom of information request. So this individual puts in a freedom of information request. Carrie Kirby gets a hold of it and says, you know what, I'm not releasing that information. We found out later the number of pending lawsuits that we have against the county, and we need to know that as far as the county, because the fact is that we need to know what we're looking at as far as potential lawsuits and what they're being filed for, because the fact is that what if something happens, what if the same thing has happened to us, then you got a trend. But to be perfectly honest, our government believes that they are better than us, and that they can pick and choose what information that we, the public, has a right to seeing. This is not based on 552, the Freedom of Information Act. They take it upon themselves. So, in other words, the Freedom of Information request has become a big deal because the fact is that there was so many put in on Janet Cass's, and it became a nuisance or bothered her because people were requesting information or the number of requests she was getting. I'm taking that as a separate issue, because that issue that has to be addressed, not on my level, it's above my pay grade. But what needs to be addressed, the fact is that just because a person puts a Freedom of Information request in does not mean that you can delay it. You can deny it because you don't want the information out. Because the fact is, it could be detrimental to the individuals who are currently in office right now. So this is my interpretation of the law is that the Uvalde hearing removes the dead man loophole, because the key factor in the dead man loophole was the fact is that it cannot be retroactive. This just blows it out of the water, because Uvalde happened years ago. Was it 2 years, 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago anyway? And these individuals have been asking. It took them to file a lawsuit to get this judge to actually see it. And maybe that's what we need to do here. Because the fact is that we are being spoon-fed information that we have a right to, we are entitled to. We have a right to question our government. It's part of our makeup as we for the revolution, and we have a right to question our government, to say, what the hell are you doing? Where's my money going? What we have that right. And then when people utilize that right, then they're shut down by loopholes, shut down by information somebody says that they don't need to provide. Or they'll apply to an attorney general and you never get an answer back, which is in this case. I don't know when or how this mentality took over. I don't understand why people have backed down from their governments when they're actually in the right. I read an interesting, this is, okay, subject change. I read, it kind of goes together, but anyway, subject change is this, and the fact is that they did a poll, and 75% of the individuals that actually are available for the draft, so they were not going to sign. They're not going to go to. They're not going to go to war. They're not going to be forced into the military. They're not going to. First of all, I don't know who these individuals are, but guess what? You don't really have a right. It's not something you decide that you want to do or not. It's basically World War I, World War II, Korean era, Vietnam. All these wars, we had to rely on the draft to get enough people just to be able to fight. Now we have 75% of the population says, no, we decided that we're not going to fight for this, and we don't believe it, whatever. This is the same mentality that civilians are using now when it comes to addressing their government. They choose 75. When you look at the voting rolls, you'll see that no more than 50% of the people vote in the United States. Then a general election, it may go up a little bit. It depends upon areas that you live in. However, the fact is that there are areas that are more political or more interested in their government and the way the government is actually applied to them. So, with that being said, we choose not to participate. And then we question the laws that are put down by these individuals. I'd be willing to bet 75% of them, ask these 75% of these individuals if they don't want to go to war or anything, but how many of these individuals are the first to sign up for government benefits? How many of these individuals actually voted, participate in their government? How many of these individuals actually give a shit about what the government does unless they can get something from the government. These are the first people to complain. I'll give you an example. I volunteered for the United States Marine Corps and also the Army. Keep going back to that, but anyway. However, the fact is that we all signed the contract. We all knew what we were going up against. We knew what we were going to face, and we did so willingly. And the common theme was we're fighting for people back home. This was how it was sold to us. This is what we were told, or whatever. Now, part of that bargain was this: is that while we are engaged in combat or combat operations, that the people back in the country would carry on their civic duty. They weren't getting shot at. They weren't getting, busted around. They weren't in convoys. They weren't on a fob or some base serving their country. We relied on you people to maintain the freedoms that we were fighting for, that we all currently enjoy right now. All that's required of you is participate in your government. That's it. Being involved and engaged in public debate, to be involved and engaged in decisions that are being made for you, and to be involved. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. Just be involved. There was a funny story about that came out of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and these individuals, 13 colonies, they were all in the room together. None of them could agree on the same thing. Kind of like we have here in the United States. We all can't agree on the same thing. So they spent days, and they just would walk out. Somebody would get offended and they would just walk out. So you couldn't have a quorum. You couldn't have meetings. So somehow, somewhere, I don't know who had the idea, but they put them in the room and they locked the door until they had an agreement. They locked the door for them to realize how important that decision was, or the decision they were making about the government, and what we decided to go to war over was all in the majority. So all of these individuals ended up signing the Declaration of Independence, but it was because the fact is that we represented these individuals. We were the one who were telling them that, we want to declare independence. We want to do this, and they acted in the best interest of their constituents. So it starts at ground level. It starts at the grassroots level. I'm not talking about just changing your government. That is a debate we can have at a further time. What I'm talking about is participating in your government and utilizing your rights to ask questions. Ask the hard questions. Why? How come? Who said so? Show me. This procedure keeps the elected officials in check. We, as citizens, we're their oversight committee. We are the individuals. We are tasked with being citizens, and we are actually being tasked with providing our own government in the way how we want to represent our government. We get to go vote. And we get to have our voices heard. We get to come out and say, look, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. You may agree with this. I don't agree with this. But too many times we let petty differences become in, and we let the petty differences actually affect our government because we want to get even with somebody. It's okay for people to have separate opinions. It's okay for people to ask questions. It's okay for people to stand up for what they believe in. And when they do so, then you know what? Then you should give them every opportunity as if you wish that they would give it to you. Do unto others as shall be done to you. So it all goes back to the situation of this, is that we have been leaning toward an authoritative government. Government is deciding what is best for us without no input from us. And they don't listen to us when we speak up. And why is that? It's because enough people aren't speaking up. If you get one little ant, biting somebody, that ain't a big deal. I don't gotta scratch it out. But you get a bunch of ants on you, you got a problem. You got to start listening to these ants and say, get the hell away from here. There's ants here. So I hope that made sense. But the issue still remains is that decisions are being made for us that are not within our constitutional, but they're not constitutional. And they're so vague that they're skirting the Constitution or they're finding ways around it. You didn't think that they were just going to roll over and play dead, did you? You didn't think just because you wrote one letter and you spoke out that they were going to change, did you? No. You have to consistently call them to the mat on decisions that they made and decisions that are being made for you. It's your right. There are a lot of people who fall for that right or for that general idea who didn't make it back to vote, who didn't make it back to put their input, who didn't make it back to actually stand up. This is the framework of Nazi Germany. And the reason why I say Nazi Germany is because the fact is it just makes more sense. This kind of plays out in our current situation today. Because if you ask a person who was in Germany at that time, they will either say, we didn't know about the Holocaust. They will say, we didn't, all this just brought down on us. We lost our right to speak up and say that this was wrong. If we did, then we were punished just like we're being punished today. Just like you're being gaslit, just like our county is actually telling us to sit down, shut up. We'll provide you scraps whenever we think you're hungry. This, I don't want to go off the deep end. This is the way it starts. It starts whittling it down. Pretty soon you'll go, how the hell did we get here? And this is what we're actually questioning and actually asking people, hey, speak up. I don't have to agree with you, but speak up. Because maybe you found something I didn't find. So, with that being said, I kept it underneath 30 minutes. So, with that being said, those are the things that I'm working on today. Tomorrow, I'm going to put a call into the Attorney General's office and see if he can check status on this because I really don't trust Gary Kirby and his ability to get back to me on in a time frame. Or if the Attorney General has decided that this is still on the table, they're still reviewing this, which is good because the fact is that the Uvalde decision just basically said you can't hold on to information when there's a death involved. Pretty simple, pretty to me, but you know what? We got to deal with the government who says otherwise. So it's all me. Happy Sunday. You guys be good. Be careful. Hey, as always, keep powder dry.